Behind the elegance of the Hotel Saskatchewan, the chandeliers, the fine china, the whisper of histories in the halls, there was a secret world, a world of quiet mischief and subversion.
Please raise your glasses and join us in a salutation. This great hotel was built during the American Prohibition. Let us not forget those dark times and fallen heroes. To whiskey!
Of Prohibition loopholes and bellmen who knew just how to keep a secret. Jeff is coming home to Regina to uncover the hidden life of this grand prairie hotel and the city that raised him. A place where his grandfather Moshe taught him refinement, and the little synagogue on the prairie reinforced his sense of Jewish ethics, and where his mother worked with the successors of Tommy Douglas, who were reshaping the province. Beneath all the polish, the real Saskatchewan spirit, bold, humorous, and a little bit rebellious, still lingers.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Sujatha.
Do you dream of hitting the open road?
Of the adventures and eclectic people you run across on the way? Are you waiting for the right moment, the right shot of courage?
I thought that. In 2016, I had a stroke. But then, in 2022, we got married, and now we're traveling the world, enjoying adventure and romance.
Jeff may travel all over the world, but his heart lies in Regina, Saskatchewan, a prairie city he still calls home. In the middle of Canada, it's a medium-sized city which serves Canada's agricultural heartland. A place where a boy and his dog could roam free, and where every block held a story and the horizon felt infinite.
This is Rothwell Street, in an area called Dominion Heights or Douglas Park, where I was raised and brought up. This was like a very kind of suburban baby boomer type of atmosphere. Many kids on the streets, everybody knew each other, feeling free to move around day and night, come back after the lights would go on the streets.
And then there was Bowser, part dog, part neighborhood celebrity.
The commercial structure was a store called OK Economy. My dear dog Bowser, who used to sit on the steps of the house there, used to sometimes go on his own, scratch on the door of the butcher department of the store, trying to elicit free meat.
The butcher knew him. Everybody did. Sometimes they left scraps just for him. Those neighborhood memories were Jeff's childhood. But downtown was where he grew up. The Hotel Saskatchewan wasn't just another building. It was where his family's story truly began.
The Hotel Saskatchewan was built in 1 year and opened in 1927 after a difficult prairie winter. Donkeys were actually used to remove earth from the foundation pit. The metalwork for the hotel came from a hotel that was supposed to be built by the Grand Trunk Railway called the Chateau Capelle. Construction had to be ceased on that hotel because of the beginning of the First World War. When the hotel opened, it was one of the crown jewels of the Canadian Pacific Railway system. The 5th floor of the hotel was actually the residence of the Lieutenant Governor for decades.
Royalty and rock stars came and went. François Mitterrand, Margaret Thatcher, Paul McCartney, the Rolling Stones. But the soul of the hotel belonged to its workers.
People like my grandfather Moshe. My grandfather Moshe came to Regina in 1946 with my grandmother and the children. His first job was at the Hotel Saskatchewan, where he worked washing windows on the outside, hanging from a swing. He then became a porter, a night porter, a bellman, and worked there until 1967. The hotel was the window of the world.
There's something about these rooms, the way the light falls through the crystal chandeliers, vintage brass mailboxes and finishings, sumptuous paintings, jewel blue carpets that have carried nearly a century of footsteps. The Hotel Saskatchewan was more than just a building. It was a place where a young province dared to dream it could be elegant, worldly, refined. The walls have seen it all, farmers from Moose Jaw dressing up for tea, premiers and premiers-to-be arguing policy over roast beef, brides twirling under chandeliers that still glow the same way they did in the Jazz Age. Each room has lived many lives. Once a private dining room for the city's elite, later a cocktail lounge where music spilled into the hallway, and then a tea room overlooking Victoria Park where conversations lingered longer than the pot of Earl Grey.
It's now called the Borough, a name I'm not familiar with. It's kind of a recent name, but in previous decades, in the earlier years, all the way from about maybe 1927 till the 60s, is referred to as a PDR, private dining room, as is the room across the hallway. In the 70s, it became a cocktail lounge combined with a lunchtime buffet. So you could come in here without ordering alcohol, actually order lunch. So I had meals here with my grandfather.
Jeff is eager to see the backstage of the hotel, the hidden passageways where life is different. Behind the mystique of the hotel was a lot of mischief.
There was a whole subculture in the hotel, and what people could get away with, they would. Not in a criminal sense, but in a joking type of sense. And they played several practical jokes on each other, but there was also a sense of community with the employees. They got together on days off, they had picnics, parties, went to the beach, and our house was often a meeting ground for many of these workers. So it was in this room that I started to have my first experiences public speaking. An organization called Boys Club. We'd meet here every other Sunday morning, prepare speeches, evaluations, talks through a discussion, and it was right here. Another major thing that was of interest to me as a kid, and now still, is music. So I performed once for a live audience in this room where I played drums and percussion. And so music and public speaking, two important parts of my life, were both happening in this room.
We stopped at Circa 27, today's bar, but still echoing another era. Mahogany and gold trim, a carved wood ceiling, and a fireplace preserve its 1920s elegance. The walls are now wrapped in Victorian-inspired aquamarine wallpaper, and every evening at 5, Jody, the head bartender and a hotel legend, leads a ritual toast.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come, and a fresh batch of hoops has just arrived by train. We would like for you to celebrate with us the wonder and beauty of Canadian whiskey, made right here in our own backyard.
Today's whiskey comes straight from Last Mountain Distillery in Lumsden, Saskatchewan. It's a nod to the hotel's early days when American Prohibition sent thirsty travelers north, and the Hotel Saskatchewan quietly prospered. Even then, it kept a dry room upstairs at the insistence of the Women's Christian Temperance Union. Until the 1970s, this bar was a meeting room called the Spanish Lounge, but in 1947, it served as something else, temporary shelter.
There was an historic and horrendous blizzard where this city and the entire province was cut off from the rest of the world in 1947. The hotel became a refuge for many people who were stranded here for days and days who arrived by train. Accommodations were even made in meeting rooms such as the Spanish Lounge where people could stay on cots because there was no more rooms available.
Jody may be the legend here today, but in its day, it was Norm Brooks.
Norm Brooks, as a 16-year-old boy, started his career at the Hotel Saskatchewan in 1952. He began as a page boy in a very crisp, bright uniform, pressed, white gloves, cap. And his job before electronic paging was around was to go around finding guests who had messages for them, sometimes very important messages about stocks, about emergencies, to make sure they got the information on a silver tray. In Saskatchewan, alcohol consumption was prohibited on Sundays, but people like Norm and his colleagues knew where to find it for guests if they needed it. They had little places where they hid alcohol, and they could provide with them very quickly. When he retired from this hotel, as a going-away gift, they gave him a night in the Royal Suite.
Another of Jeff's haunts was the Saskatchewan Legislative Building, one of Regina's most visited landmarks. Completed in 1912, just after the province was founded, it was designed in the Beaux-Arts style, a symbol of civic ambition rising from the prairies. Surrounded by sweeping gardens and lakeside paths, it's a refuge for geese and for residents seeking a peaceful walk. For Jeff, though, it wasn't just a monument. It was his mother's workplace, a place where public service met purpose.
My mother worked for the provincial government when Tommy Douglas's successors were reshaping Saskatchewan, building healthcare and new programs, while my grandfather served guests at the hotel. She served citizens there.
Saskatchewan was the first socialist jurisdiction in North America, a social laboratory for bold ideas that would ripple across the continent. As a public servant, Jeff's mother, Elaine, took her role in that experiment very seriously. Downtown, the Copper Kettle Cafe tells another Regina story.
We're in the Copper Kettle in downtown Regina, Cigar Street. This was an old hangout for me for a long time since the university days. Also, like other generations of my family, my aunt, my grandfather dined here. When we had guests coming to town, we often bring them here.
Founded by Greek immigrants, a mural commemorates their service to the community and their support for artists.
This is my old school, Scott Collegiate. However, it's been deconstructed, actually demolished. A new school has been placed there. It's geared towards First Nations communities. And there was an important change that had to take place. And there are important things that have to be addressed now.
It wasn't just Jeff's school that changed hands. Another abandoned school found a new purpose. It became the site of Beth Jacob, Jeff's synagogue.
Okay, my family came from a place called Radowitz, Romania, which would be today in Bukovina. They first came to North America in 1896. For the first 8 years, they lived in New York City, having made their immigration through Ellis Island. Then they moved up here and got a quarter section of land. Okay, so Shabbat they were very serious about that. It was so bizarre because I was the only kid around that really did that type of thing. So I couldn't watch TV on Shabbat, but as I said, sometimes you listen to the radio. And you could not work. As I was a young musician, I couldn't take gigs Friday night, only Saturday night. So I started booking other bands as a favor to bars on a Friday night. And consequently, I ended up having a sideline job as a booking agent. So that was how that was. But also, matzah on Pesach, and everything also went along with it. Seder, Yom Kippur fasting, Rosh Hashanah, all the holidays. Hanukkah, not so much.
Jeff's family piano sits in the hallway. Today, the synagogue is a community hub with a library, gym, and school. Small but resilient, like Jewish life on the prairie. From Rothwell Street to the legislature, from the Copper Kettle to the synagogue on the prairie, this is Jeff's Regina.
It's very nice to be here, but in reality, the thing that made it special is not the architecture or the weather even, but it's really the people around you. In a certain way, you can't really ever go home because the people have changed. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. It's changed, and that's the nature of history. The thrill of the road does not end with a stroke. Come travel with us.
Please subscribe to our channel, Fierce Travel, and ring the bell for more notifications.
So do it.